Well, it is a chilly winter's day in Hixton, Wisconsin, and we are in front of an old high school. Seems like an obscure location, but we are right by the freeway, and this place has turned into a big old antique mall. We are going to see what it's like right now. I am here with my friend Mike, and he is going to walk in ahead of us. This is the old Township High School from 1916. They've got a bunch of stuff outside, and I'm sure much more inside. Right, we're in the front area here, and there are a lot of showcases, and this place is big, so there's going to be a lot to see here. A bunch of advertising in the first case, along with silhouettes, and yeah, it's a good day for hot cocoa. Oh, cool graphics. Yeah, one of those World War II fighter adventures, I'm sure. This is fun, this little bell. This is Czech pottery from about 1940, next to a Wyandotte toy truck. I recently learned that Wyandotte saved money by doing a lot of their stuff out of scrap metal from the Detroit auto industry. Here is an interesting Viking compote you don't see very often, with the pulls up, and it was really just a flat surface. More an architectural design thing than a practical thing, and it's priced at $60. A fun piece of tonala. This is one of those water jugs where you have the cup that covers the pour spout, or the filler spout. That's priced at $30. That's not a bad price for that. Great price on this Blue Ridge painted floral teapot here. This one's only $17.50. And just under $20 each on the 1970s Disney's Dwarfs music boxes. A couple of nice looking Lucite purses in here. I like that root beer colored with the mottled coloring there. It's priced at $55. I might be able to afford that one. That makes me want to see the black one too. I think I'll have them take those out. But before I do, I'll look in the rest of this case. They've got a bunch of Renoir copper jewelry. Only $17 on the wide bracelet. If that turns out to be Renoir, I would buy it at that price. The goldwork cup and saucer may be Mosier. I'll have to look at the way that it's beveled. Next to a very nice Lalique piece with the lovebirds. They definitely know what they have there. And a very pretty enameled Bohemian piece for only $30 from the late 19th century. Shawnee did these around 1940. Tom Tom the Piper's son, and there he is with the piggies running off with. There's a bunch of rosemead out of North Dakota, and these were done in the 1930s and 40s particularly. The purple cream and sugar are modernist style that are unusual for that time. The shoe and the bed vase more typical of what they made, and then the large boot is, for them, a fairly large piece. But this piece down here, which was an advertising piece, is the most unusual of the rosemead pieces I see in this case. For Eisenberger chicks, they say it's as is. There's just a little bit of a chip, I think, on the crown of that rooster there. The tin is supposed to show people actually harvesting tea leaves about 1920 because it refers to King George V, and this one's priced at $117 from Lipton Tea. I've only seen one of these before. This is by Red Wing, which was out of Red Wing, Minnesota, and this was for the 1965 World Series when the Minnesota Twins were the American League champs. An unusual double ashtray, priced at $195. That's about what the last one I saw was too, and I haven't seen one in about 4 years. Daimler and Breo made this German Stein in the back there. That's not a company you see as often as you see Metlock. And that rather warty person is priced at $160. They're wearing a fez. It looks like maybe a Shriner-related piece. And then we, of course, have the classic Miss Chris Cream and Sugar for $67.50 in front of it. Celluloid animals from the 1930s and 40s are fun to collect. They were inexpensive new. A lot of them got crushed or melted or warped. So finding them in good condition, not as easy as it used to be. These are priced at $12.50 each. Here is a very scarce piece. In fact, they have a few scarce pieces by Ruth Schnell from the University of North Dakota. This is a very good university ceramics program. All the artist sign pieces tend to be the most valuable. These are very nice and unusual. You do not see them very often. This is also University of North Dakota pottery with the two monkeys on it. Cindy Crawford. So popular in the early 1990s. She's from not too far from here in Illinois. And that looks like an original signature with a felt pen rather than an auto pen. Usually if they're made to a particular person, that means that the person who signed it really signed it rather than having an assistant do it for them. And $25 for resin grapes. Now, these don't look like they're well connected to the stem, so I'll have to see if that's something I can work with. Singer Featherweight, this one is priced at $600 firm, but it is the unusual white color, and as long as it works well or has been gone through with the brushes and everything so that it works right, that's not a terrible price. And then here we have the black one at $265 without the case, and only $22 on that plastic purse. I was just at a fellow's house yesterday who has an extensive typewriter collection. I don't know if he has any of the crates they came in. This one is priced at $75, but originally they had a value of $850. I imagine that was for a whole crate. Pretty green 1930s era Whifford desk here is priced at $125. This is a woodblock print. For some reason, I see a lot of woodblock prints made in this part of the country. And this is Eakins, done by Leonard Baskin, who passed away in 2000. I find it interesting because when you look into the figure, you start seeing things that look like other figures. So it's an interesting impression. They have it priced at $800. This piece in front is really cool. It's a Carter's ink bottle. They did little figural ink bottles in the 19-teens. I think $25 is a pretty good price for that. And this makes me think this might be a dealer who's been around a while because they have a very high price on the Hummel next to it. And markets have changed, so we're going to take a look at that too, I think. Next to it is very strange, interesting little vintage candy container shaped like a goose. And then these double fish salt and pepper shakers that wiggle around. The red vase here is Rick Storini. I've had one of his pieces before. He's still operating. He's been in business for over 40 years. And a lot of his earlier stuff is selling for big prices. This ruby one is $150. I got a little bit more than that for the one I sold. Ah, this poor cold manatee figure. What are you doing in Wisconsin? My goodness. That might need to go to Florida just to get warm again. $32.50 on that. Big Fenton cranberry opalescent daisy and fern piece. L.G. Wright had something to do with this particular line, and this is priced at $750. And this is a cool handmade whirligig. It will spin in the wind, and this fellow will chop that stump. Priced at $495. This looks like something that was probably done in the 1940s approximately with that silver paint. This clown head is a little happier looking than the McCoy Drunken Clown. It is a Japanese knockoff of the McCoy piece, and it is priced at $35, should date to about the 1960s. They have a stack of these plates, $7.50 a piece. These are bayberry, and these were done for John Wanamaker in Philadelphia. There's a very long mark on the back talking about how they were done by Meyer China, exclusively for a company that supplied them as a restaurant supplier to John Wanamaker. So they've got a good history. If I was selling around Philadelphia, I would probably buy those at that price. John Wanamaker was a pretty famous department store. I wish I knew the story on this. It is pretty fabulous. It definitely has a Memphis-style look, but it's copper tone and it's not pastels, so they have it priced at $2,500. Cylindrical cabinet. I guess you open it how? Like this? Ah, there we go. There's the drawers that pull out. This may be pretty modern, but it definitely is a merge of Deco Revival and Memphis modernism that I haven't seen before. An ophthalmometer. This is an interesting old piece that's been restored, it appears. Or else it's just in really good original condition. Maybe that's the case. The paint seems perfect. There's a little bit of information about this. This should date to about the 1920s. They have it priced at $350. Old knitting machine sign, probably from a sewing machine company or sales facility. Next to this really cool Royal Hager fish. This one has a little well in the bottom to be used as a planter. It's priced at $85. Old 1960s lawn care equipment sign from a hardware store, double-sided, does make a difference in value. It's priced at $495. This is a cool piece. Iced tea jug, Continental Coffee, but this one has the original base as well. This should date to about 1950 with the metal spigot, and it's priced at $250. I'm used to seeing small versions of this Egyptian hand-blown perfume. I have never seen one this large. They were very popular about 30 years ago. I have to say $30 seems like a good price for that much glass and that elegant a design. Next to it, we have this guy who says he's a whistler, and he has an on-off switch. What is he to do? He looks like wood, but he's actually plastic. Slow and fast. It's a battery-operated piece, and I guess it's just a light. I suspect his head wiggles back and forth as well. And maybe he makes a whistling sound, I'm not sure. Next to it, this is a very handsome piece. This looks like Amphora. It says it's royal ducks, and it's the fisherman. A nice large piece. Let's see if we can see the mark on the bottom of this. There's the pink triangle, and this is the made in Czechoslovakia mark. That does not seem like a bad deal for him. He should date sometime between the 1920s and 1950s. Cute little child's three-piece set here. The table you were relegated to at Christmas when there were lots of guests over. But very cute design. I have someone who's looking for one of these. What's the price on this? It says, gosh, only $25 for the three pieces. That is tempting. It doesn't take a lot of space either. And we are not too far from Red Wing, Minnesota, so we're starting to see their dinnerware here. Square pieces made in the 1940s, all hand-painted in the iris pattern and magnolia. And then the more modern pieces in the 1950s. Always like their hand painting, very free form. Very plain and basic, but very useful folding beverage cart from the 60s with the simulated wood grain, but it's only $32. Not sure where my friend got off to, so we're going to go up to the stage and look, but we are seeing some more rosemead. Interesting that there's so much in this part of Wisconsin, because I'm not used to seeing a whole lot of this. It was distributed outside the Dakotas. I've seen it in Seattle before. This place goes on and on and on. Classrooms filled with stuff, including this great old safe from Hamilton, Ohio. It says this is sold. They had an $8,000 price on it. A very large wall safe, probably out of a bank or some institution that was built in originally and was salvaged. And it was one of a bank of them because it's number 7. That's pretty neat with the scenic on it. This should date to sometime right around 1900 or 1910. A couple of Stengel colonial little vases here. They went along with the dinnerware pattern from the late 30s, early 40s. And wow, $5. That seems really inexpensive. I think I might have to take one or both of those. This one looks like a little less of a factory second. I saw a little bit of a glaze flaw on the first one. Finding cool things here. This little guy is a pilgrim glass whale for $10. Might be lost in this stack here, but I don't think I have time today because this place is so big and I want to see more. Nice Fiesta orange pitcher. The red orange. Yes, that was full of lead. It also used uranium to get that color. Fiesta went lead-free later on, and the later pieces say lead-free, which is great. But this is a really fun hot color. Went out of production in 1941 because the uranium all had to be withdrawn for Defense Department production. $30 and $40 on the Marwell heads is a pretty good price. Oh yes, this is a 60s era, or maybe 70s peephole glass. Oh my. She seems to have lost her shirt. We have various arrowheads and flint points from here, and these look like they're genuine because if you notice the riffling, the way that they're carved, it goes in all different directions. You can tell fakes pretty easily if they do them all in the same direction because that's just not the way that they were carved originally. They used other stones to carve them, and they couldn't do it all in one direction. I just got a good price on a piece of this in another mall, and I really like it. This is Red Wing Smart Set. What a great pattern. And it is absolutely modernism. Right out of the 50s. Pretty collectible. Their prices are not bad. $40 on the serving bowl. Only $20 on that, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a lid for that sauce boat. This needs a base, but Maddox of California caught up with the treasure craft trends and introduced Colorama. They didn't use any of the brown, but they definitely got these swirls. This is very much out of about 1970 and priced at $70. A local interest painter here, this is Kay Sullivan out of Elm Grove, Wisconsin, priced at $275. She passed away in 2008. This would have been done probably around 1970. And it definitely looks like this time of winter in Wisconsin. If you take in a lot of coin, this is a pretty handy device. The automatic cashier, you could just line up the coins and then count them out in stacks. Everything up to 95 cents. This is priced at $330. It is called the Brent Jr. and should date to sometime probably around 1950. We're going up on stage after we pass this group of playing cards in the case. Curious to see what the old stage looks like here. That's a great 50s lamp if you had the right shade. And this is a very pretty 1930s Weller ewer for $50 with that nice blue to green tone. And here we are up on the stage, which is great because you get a better feel for how really immense this place is. Definitely going to have to come back here when I can shop it more thoroughly, because there is just a ton of stuff to see here. And if you want to see that return visit, this is the time to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and go ahead then and click the bell to be notified of future videos. That's the easiest way because YouTube will send out those notifications. We're here having premieres every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we really enjoy having people in the chat. You are always welcome to join us in the chat as well. Hobart Coffee, still a big name in coffee machines and restaurant equipment. This is a 1930s coffee grinder. Really great graphics, good deco, linear, streamlined design, priced at $350. I have a slightly different Curtis Juray ship sculpture for sale in my mall space in Seattle. This one's a little larger, a big sailing ship, and it's priced at $950. Good old AM/FM radio. FM was a pretty new concept when this RCA Victor came out. It's priced at $60, and a lot of people like the ones that were with FM now because they're a little more usable in today's world. Old numbers out of an old cash register. This is something that's just really fun. I never imagined seeing parts from an old cash register at where you could just buy them. But I think the ones that are the higher dollar numbers might be fun for somebody. It's like The Price is Right, 90 cents. What's 90 cents anymore? So I think I'm going to take the $5 and the $20 just because there's something different. The cobalt and gold colors are good in this Murano double layered dish for only $25. A little bit of salt glaze porcelain and an Ool pottery jug for $47.50. The prices go down when you get away from Indiana. That would be more there because that's where it was made. Oh, here's some cool pieces. I love shearwater pottery. You have to go to the factory in Ocean Springs, Mississippi to get it. This one says it's as is, and I see his foot is broken. That's too bad. The pirates are one of the things they've made for the longest time. This one's a little larger than you usually see. New at the factory, this would be that price, but he's got a lot of glaze skips. I think he was a factory second. Peters and Reed. This is a little spittoon or a cuspidor. The smaller sizes actually were meant to be carried by ladies. Yes, it was not considered unladylike to chew tobacco 120 years ago. Very pretty Limoges fish plate, probably out of a larger set. There would have been 4 or 5 of these in addition to this one, and then a large oval serving tray for your big piece of fish. I like the Donegal Irish face with the Celtic design. Mike pointed out the Coleman catalytic heater here. Coleman stuff is pretty collectible now. Those old, remember the camp stoves he would always bring, the Coleman?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, people really like those now. And the old lanterns. This one's priced at $42.50. Some good lighting in here. A couple of pole lamps. We have this Hollywood Regency style one with the gold. Kind of a schmaltzy look in the front here. And this one is priced at $125. And then in the back, we have the one with the spaghetti shades, and that one's priced at $295, which these days is a pretty fair price for that, actually. This pretty vase looks like Royal Copenhagen or Bing& Grøndal from Denmark, but the mark is Heubach from Germany. Pretty piece, priced similarly to those other brands. And then this is interesting because it's glass, and yet it has a Bjorn Vindblad signature on the bottom. That's because he did these designs for Rosenthal about the same time he was doing the ceramic designs for them. I always have been a fan of Glidden Pottery. Their stoneware was really way ahead of its time. This was American made around 1950, and it wasn't until the 1970s that Pottery Craft and other companies made things with the look of studio stoneware that were actually done on a major production basis. So Glidden was way ahead of their time. A couple who studied at Alfred College in New York. This is a shelf full of lime green Fenton custard glass. The lime green really is popular now because it glows under a black light, and it's also such a fun color. The regular custard glows similarly well, but this stuff just looks really vibrant even when it's not lit. This set here is Bartlett Collins out of Oklahoma. They did a lot of that shape of goblet. Nice Fenton fairy lamp there. Still seeing a lot of people interested in the artware pieces that are fairy lamps from Fenton. Cute little brightly painted piggy bank from Japan from about 1950. And in the corner here we have a Walt Disney Studios Productions era piece with the television set lamp, now scarce. This is Bob. What a nice guy. He's a viewer. He and his wife are dealers here. We had a great conversation, and I wish that the recording had worked, but he told me all about so many interesting Norwegian things because that's their heritage, and they specialize in a lot of Norwegian linens, like this pretty frame piece here that you see. They also have a number of pieces like the bell ringer there, that horizontal cloth that you see, as well as some pretty Amberina glass, of course. They deal in all sorts of things. He and his wife met 60 years ago, and their first date was at an auction. You'll see here in a minute. They also have this Berggren Swedish coffee pot and dishware set, along with the decorator plate. This was very popular stuff in the 1960s and 70s and is very collectible now. Rosemalling is this paint design that you see on these wedding boxes and other traditional Scandinavian pieces, and they have large ones and small ones. There she is. And what a fun display this is. There are certain parts of the country, including here in northern Wisconsin, where you see a lot of Scandinavian ware because the people came from there. These large round boxes with the lids are all hand-turned and hand-decorated. And of course you see a troll because that's traditional. This is a neat old piece. The handle is broken, but that may have been intentional for some particular use. This is 19th century, as is this 1853 dated washing board. Scandinavians like to date things, and so you'll see dates on a lot of Scandinavian items. Here's an interesting blue paint scheme on this box. This one has a little different locking and handle setup than the other ones that we've seen. This would have been for storage. They purchased this in Norway. They've been several times shopping, and I noticed that a lot of people who deal in Scandinavian artifacts and art tend to go to Scandinavia to get them. This is a fun piece here too. This is a sugar cutter. You wanted a piece that had a blade because sugar came in cones, and it had to be covered because, of course, you didn't want insects to get in there and get at it. And so you have something that's locking and has a lid, and that way animals and critters don't get into it, or children. And that is a really neat piece from the 19th century as well. It used to be every house had one of these because sugar cones had to be cut. Otherwise, you just had a big lump of sugar and there was no way to use it. These are traditional carvings that are painted in Norway with scenes, so it's an art form that you see there and is very popular with collectors. I grew up near Paulsbo, Washington, which was a Norwegian-founded town, and we saw a lot of this sort of thing there as well. And here are a couple of other ones. This one was painted in Norway with the woman seated. There's just a real folksy appeal to these pieces. Here's an open box with the handle and the rosemalling, the painting on there. I'm shopping for my Florida shows, and I love the cypress knee lamp, especially because it has the cypress banded shade, but it's got a split in it, and I don't know how to do anything about that, sadly. Let's see, we're going to go in the back here. This place is huge. We're not even going to get to the upstairs in this visit. We will have to come back. But my friend I'm shopping with, his wife loves these Venetian glass vases with the two colors and the triangular shape. They're just great. I don't think he saw this. He went upstairs, so I'm going to put this at the counter for him. You see a lot of 1930s boudoir lamps. I almost never see the heart-shaped one. That's unusual in the blue. That's why they have it priced at $320. This is an amazing Walter and Berga pot de verre piece. Pot de verre is where they press glass into molds. They take glass powder like frit, and they press it into molds, and then it could be layered and fused into different designs and colors in the same piece. It's a very ancient technique that was originally used in Egypt way back in ancient times, and very hard to find now. They want $7,700 for that piece. There is a fun pair of wall plaques. Ceramic Art Studio in Madison, Wisconsin was a very well-regarded ceramics maker around 1940, very high quality. We usually see frogs, but this Weller Woodcraft picture has a fish handle. That's a very unusual style from about 1910. Woodcraft is one of the most popular of the Weller lines from that time, and so it's not surprising that it's priced at $750. And then this is a beautiful owl. This is another pot de verre piece by Walter of Nancy, France, where Dome Nancy was also made. A lot of high-quality glass in that part of France. Some really fun studio glass. The crazy face piece in the middle is Murano, but I wanted to show this piece. This is by Wes Hunting, a Princeton, Wisconsin studio glass maker. So this is a local piece. Whether you're a watch collector or a compact fan, these are just great. Evans on the left, Illinois watch case on the right. Elgin, Illinois also made these 1930s compacts with the watches in them. Finding them working is the hard part. A nice evening in Paris set there too. One surprising piece in this collection of arts and crafts era pieces is the one on the left. That brushed green glaze is actually Red Wing pottery from Minnesota. I like this little cranberry glass enameled atomizer from the early 1900s, likely to have been made in Bohemia. Very pretty piece there. Orion and Plume paperweight, another set of Ceramic Art Studio pieces. Lots of nice things here. Goldscheider was originally an Austrian company, but they fled Austria in 1938 and moved to New Jersey. These are original from Austria from the early to mid-1930s, the Redware Boy and Girl Skier. He's priced at $250. She's only priced at $45 because she's a little damaged. Hard to find the pre-US pieces. And this tonsorial barber here is a razor bank by Ceramic Art Studio. You can just see the quality and the painting and the detail. A nice heavy ceramic they used. And then we have these wonderful flame candlesticks from the 1930s with babachets and crystals. Down here, this angry-looking cockfight is a fun dish from Royal Beirut from about 1910. There's a few generations of Fenton on this shelf, not just the mulberry and plum pieces and the cranberry glass, which are all hard to find, but some of these trunk vases are rather old. It's not just the little hobnail pieces that are Fenton. There's a nice Daisy and Fern uranium glass hat with the blue rim. That looks great under a black light. And then down here we have another selection of Miss Priss, quite a lot of it on one shelf. Country decorating and farmhouse decorating with real farmhouse stuff is a lot more fun than just painting things white and scraping them. Look at that great old tin flower display on the stand. You could use this for any number of things, storage for blankets or kindling. It's a little beaten up. It's nice and rustic. It's priced fairly for what it is. And then there's all sorts of fun decorating accessories in here. Now this, on the other hand, is very mid-century. That originally would have had a wrought iron stand. I believe that's a whole pottery piece, not to sit by a table. And here's a great deco piece. Deco is really coming on strong again. You see the price. It's because it is peach mirrored. Peach and blue mirrored things from the 1950s are hard to find and blemish. You see that one does have one little spot on the mirror, which is kind of a typical thing. Ouija boards were definitely controversial at one time. Our minister had strong words against them, but the old ones are very collectible now, and you see big prices on a lot of them. This one has a nice old look. I recently appraised one for $500 that was only slightly older than this. So they are definitely something to look for. They have a great graphic look and a lot of people really like them. This is a very sweet 1930 silhouette with the painted scene, where the whole thing is painted on reverse and multicolor, a little different. Every state has artists that are well known, and Wisconsin is no exception. This very realistic northern scene that you see is George Henke. Henke was born in Berlin in the 1880s and moved to Milwaukee in 1923 when he was 40 years old, started over in a print shop, and became a very famous painter. He painted the Coca-Cola Santa Claus. In fact, we're going to see right here an example of that. There you go, the iconic painting, and his stuff is very valuable, and it's amazing to see an original on display here. Most were donated to Ideals magazine, that's why this one is hard to find at $65,000. And yes, even S&H Green Stamps got in on the lovely Art Nouveau tip trays. This one's from about 1910, priced at $175. Well, from 1910's telegraph machines to Goudy Welsh and Goudy Dutch-inspired English cheese doughs, the Hixton Antique Mall is a real surprise in the middle of Wisconsin, just off the freeway. It is worth a stop. I can't wait to come back and see the rest of it. They have some really impressive things here. If you enjoyed them, please click thumbs up and let YouTube and everybody else know you liked this video, and all the original true antiques like this old bank that we are seeing here that we don't see elsewhere.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.